Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi, Mr. Bush.
Yes. And your name?
Regina Gray.
Nice to meet you today.
Nice to see you as well.
Um, Before we get into why you're here, why you think you might need counseling, give me a little background on your parents. Are they both still living? Um,
Yes, my mother and father are both living.
okay. And their ages respectively?
Um, I don't keep up with that type of stuff, but I know my father is approximately 20 years older than me because they had me when I was 20, when they
Okay.
were 20 years old.
They had you
So,
when they were 20 years old.
yeah, well, my dad was 20, my mom was 19. They
Okay.
met in college.
So they were a young
My
couple.
father, yes, my father was pre-med. My mother was going for nursing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So seem like you have some pretty intelligent parents there.
Yes, I do.
Very
Mhm.
good. Um, were they from Georgia?
My father's from Miami, Florida. He was born in Miami Beach. My mother's from Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Good. Do you have any other siblings besides yourself?
I have two younger brothers
Okay.
to speak of.
So you're their big sister.
Yes.
Okay. How is it being their big sister?
Um,
Well, how was it being their big sister when you
I
were
was
growing up?
not prepared for them to come into the world.
Okay.
Definitely not in our family.
Oh, really? Okay.
Um, I enjoyed being the only child. So I was the only child for about 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And I remember when my mother brought my brother home and from the hospital, and I wanted her to take him back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did that make you feel when she brought him home from the
I
hospital?
think I was, the struggle of change was real.
I can understand.
And I remember, which he also remembers, like even years later when he got older, and we lived in Idaho. 'Cause my father,
Oh, okay.
he didn't finish pre med, so he went to the Air Force.
Okay.
He wanted to become a pilot,
Mm.
and he scored the top score out of his whole class or that whole
Oh,
group that had taken the test. I think he may have missed one question on the entire test. But he found out blind as a bat
oh
almost.
my goodness.
I mean, he can see, but he
Okay.
needs glasses and things like that. And with the Air Force, you had to have naturally great vision, at least back then in the 70s. So instead of being a pilot, which was his dream, he ended up being an air traffic controller.
Oh, so he became instead of a pilot, an air traffic controller.
Yes, and then I want to go back. Okay, so we're going to regress to what I said before.
Okay.
The pre med, when he was in pre med, becoming a doctor was never his dream. That was his mother's dream.
His mother's
His
dream.
mother wanted to be a doctor. Her father said that she would have to go too far away and she would be gone too long. And
Okay.
so he talked her into being something else, which was, oh, just become a school teacher and you can go to
Mm.
school not too far
Okay.
and you could finish far more quickly. But her dream was that. So her firstborn child was my father, and she was going to make him become a doctor. But of course, that wasn't his dream.
All right. So are they still?
Oh, and then
Yes.
we
Go
were
ahead.
talking about Idaho.
Okay.
Okay,
Idaho.
so we lived in Idaho, and in Idaho they were like gypsies or something. I don't know. They're these different people. So I'd always tell my brother when he was little, "You're not really like a part of this family. Like mommy and daddy bought you from the gypsies.
Oh my goodness.
And so he would just burst into tears and run to my father or my mother and tell them, Gina said that,
So
you purchased me from the gypsies.
okay. So what was the reason that you were telling him that? Were you jealous of him or bothered that he was in the world? Or...
There was absolutely no reason for me to be jealous of him.
Okay.
But perhaps he was like disturbing me or something in my room or touching my belongings, which
oh, yeah, you didn't allow that.
I still don't.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are your parents a part of your immediate life now? What type of jobs or what do they do right now?
Well, my mother actually lives with me
Okay.
and in my home with my family. My father lives in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. So are you married?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been married?
Since 2013.
Okay. So your younger years, let's say, from the ninth grade to the 12th grade, did you have many friends?
Yes, I did.
You did.
Yeah.
So what did your friends think of you? If I had to ask one of your friends, what do you remember fondest about Gina, what would they say?
They would say that I was spoiled, probably.
Oh,
Beautiful,
beautiful.
uh, a Christian.
A Christian.
Yeah, because that was like the biggest. I was always like witnessing and participating in church events.
So you would say you grew up in the church?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So what type of positions were you a part of in the church?
When I was 15, I taught the entire youth Sunday school, and we were in the inner city. The church was located in the inner city, so there were government projects that surrounded the church,
Oh, okay.
and we did a lot of outreach to try to get the people to come. But the biggest outreach was to the youth.
Okay.
So we would win them, get them saved, and then eventually they would get their parents to come, grandparents.
Oh,
So
I see.
it was really effective. We also offered free breakfast every Sunday morning.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But of course, you had to come to Sunday school
Yeah.
for that. And it was grits, eggs, biscuits, bacon, sausage.
Mm. So would you say you're a people's person? That you are more socially in depth, that you like talking with and being around others?
I really don't like to be around people.
Really?
I would prefer to be with my inner circle with my family. I'm a family person.
Okay.
So I would prefer to be with my husband, my children, my mother, you know.
If your brothers, they're all both still living?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Are they a part of your immediate life now?
No, my brothers are not.
Okay.
And that's like a really sore spot for me.
Oh, okay.
And it brings me sadness.
So what, if I had a chance to talk with your brother, what type of character would they say my sister is? What?
They would say that I'm a drama queen.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
However, I am not.
Well,
and I want you to know that I am passionate.
Passionate.
I'm a very passionate person. And I believe in doing what's right. I believe in standing up for what's right. And yeah.
Are there anything about your past where your parents instill a lesson in you about life in general?
Yes, of course my parents did, and also God did.
Okay.
And God is our Father. I remember my dad. He always said when I was younger that God is our Father. So of course He's my dad.
Yeah.
Daddy's my dad. But that God was His Father. But I wasn't God's granddaughter because of my dad. God was still directly my Father. And I could always go to Him, and He will always take care of me, and He will always lead and guide me. Even if at some point my father wasn't there, that God would always, be there.
So,
And I remember I was at South Miami High School, and I was taking AP Biology,
okay.
and there was a teacher. He always rode his bicycle to school. And so towards the beginning of the semester, I'm a probing person.
Okay.
So we kind of got off track, and I was probing a little bit. And somehow we got on to him sharing a story about him being a teenager. And he shared that he stole his parents' car
Mm.
when he was about 13 or 14 years old, um, just for like a joyride.
Okay.
Just around the neighborhood he thought he was going, and he killed one of his classmates.
Oh, good. How tragic.
Yeah, it was devastating. So that kind of explained the reason why he would come to school every day with a coffee mug that was filled with liquor.
Oh,
And then when he told me that story, he would always make little comments, and everybody knew that I was a Christian. So he would always make these little comments about, there's no God. That's just what people have created, in their own imagination, the idea of God, and there's no God. And science is really, the way we came about. And so when I heard that story, I said, oh, and I've always been a very forward type of person. So me being about 14 or 15 years old myself,
okay.
I said to him, well, that's the reason why you say there is no God, because you're just angry with them that you killed someone.
Okay. So, would you say you had a passion for believing in God? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And the idea too with this particular person, after I said that, it went, the rest of the school year was a nightmare. He was always saying horrible things about Christians and about God in general. And then there was another particular student in the class that several times he just blasphemed God.
Oh my goodness.
And they like fed off each other's hatred and evilness. And there were other students that I knew were Christians also, but they wouldn't dare reveal that they were Christian. I was like the battling ram. I was the only one that they knew was a Christian. And of course I would say things in defense of my faith and my belief in God. But it was like really a nightmare to go to school every day to that class. And then a pastor, friend of my father's, he came by out the blue, just popped up. And my dad said, hey, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, God told me to come by. And so my dad said, okay, what is God saying,
Yeah.
And of course we believe God speaks, still speaks. And he said, well, God told me that Gina is being persecuted at school for his sake. Now, this man, all of his children were grown. He lived nowhere near my school. He didn't know anyone that was in my, like, he had no idea. God told him, And it was just so amazing to me. But my dad, I could hear the conversation. My bedroom door was open. And my dad said, no. He said, maybe you got it wrong because Gina will tell me if something's happening to her.
Yeah.
She knows I'll go take care of it, and she knows we.
Right.
And he said, no, God told me to come because she is being mistreated. She's being persecuted for his sake.
My goodness.
So my dad says, Gina, of course I'm already listening. So I said, yes. And I came in the living room. And my dad said, the pastor is saying that, well, I called him Uncle Bill. Daddy said, Uncle Bill said God told me somebody's bothering you at school and because you're a Christian and persecuting you. And I said, it's true. My dad was completely shocked. Now, over half of the year was gone by this time. So I told him the story. And my dad says, well, God, thank you for telling us. And I'm going up there tomorrow and taking care of it. But I found this renewed strength and courage, and to know the love of God for me. So I told my dad, don't worry about it. God is with me. Daddy is with me, and I'm gonna go to school tomorrow, and I'm gonna take care of it.
Right. So would you say that this happened when you were in high school?
Yeah.
Today, do you still 10th grade? You still have that? Has it ever been a time when you wanted to do things on your own without the help of God? And were you trying to do things in your own strength and not include God? How was that?
Well, I don't really roll like that.
Okay.
I don't operate in those terms, so I can't.
So you would say you always included God in whatever decisions you made.
He's always in my thoughts. He's always with me. I'm aware of that, and
that is wonderful.
Yeah, and even going back to my story, I think it's really important. I went to school that day. I had so much courage the next day, and we went to class. The teacher opened up and he made a comment about Christianity.
What did he say?
I can't remember exactly, but there were always these things like, oh, he even went as far as to say people that believed in God were just stupid.
Really?
Yeah. So, and
how did that make you feel?
It was upsetting. But that day, I told him, I need to speak with you outside.
Okay.
And I was very sure of myself.
Oh,
What happened? It cut off?